And there we are. We are live. TigerBait live on a Wednesday night once again. Like I said each week, I think we're going to move it to permanent on Wednesday nights. A lot to talk about. People were peppering me right before we were going live about Ty Washington. Ends up being Kentucky's get. But we do have a lot of great news to talk about with Will Wade and basketball recruiting tonight. Football recruiting. I posted a big official visit list on the Tiger Den Premium message board earlier today. A lot to talk about there. June is going to be a fantastic month for LSU football recruiting. So going to wait for a bunch of you guys to get in here. I see a bunch of you are here already. I see Blake Ruffino in here. He had a great show earlier tonight. Thanks to Blake coming in here and getting everybody stirred up early on. I saw you had a nice new headset with microphone on his show. And of course, we got Buddy Songy, Baton Rouge Sports Talk legend, with us tonight. And we're going to talk about Alabama last series, home series in baseball. Will Wade gets a big man in basketball. And 12-1 odds to win the SEC in football.
By the way, we say hello to everybody. Hopefully all of you mothers out there had a great weekend. It is a real special time. I know you got a chance to see your mom, and obviously my mom's gone. But for all those mothers out there, we hope that the guys took care of everything, the cooking, the cleaning, all of that. And speaking of cleaning, Will Wade cleans up with a big 5-star. Efton Reed, this is a skilled big man. You know they've had trouble with rim protectors. And so now it's, you know, you're missing the big three, obviously, with Cam Thomas, Watford, and the point guard from Baton Rouge. But lo and behold, Darius Days still could come back.
That would be huge.
And as we know, this kid, Efton Reed from IMG, I know you talked to a lot of people. They thought 2 or 3 times they were going to have him, but until Mama Bear, affectionately his mom, speaking of Mama's Day, she had a big part of the decision. She finally said, let's go with it. And, you know, it's amazing how so many people want to point the finger about Will Wade, and he's doing this and he's doing that. I don't think he gets enough credit for the incredible leg work that he does. This Wheeler kid out of Georgia, the guard, his daddy was saying, Will Wade is the Elon Musk of college basketball. He does more than just come up there and sell you with perks, obviously. So we got that on our plate. 12-1 in football, final weekend with LSU, Alabama, and plenty to talk about, along with we always are going to get into that roster and dig into that roster. I've got a little verification on Trey Bradford. There were some overtures and rumors he might transfer. I've gotten that debunked. And speaking of Blake Ruffino, that little boy, I think Michael is his name, is going to have his second birthday tomorrow.
That's what he said. I was listening to him.
You see how good looking he is, and they tell me he's just like his mom. He takes just after his mom.
Yep.
Sorry about that, Blake.
Yep. Let's see, guys. Do us a favor, please. Of course, first and foremost, I want to thank Pride Roofing, the official roofing company of TigerBait.com, sponsors this show every week. We wouldn't be able to do it without them. Mike Faraday and Alex Martinez. I'll talk about them a little bit later in the show. But as always, a lot of you have jumped on that deal that it's fantastic. You call them up for a free roofing inspection. You tell them you heard about it on TigerBait, and they're going to pay for you to have TigerBait free for a year. The premium subscription, they get you the text alerts, the whole works. So a lot of people jumped on that deal. That's still going. They're going to keep that going as long as people want it. So Pride Roofing, we'll talk a little bit more in the show. And please hit the like button if you're on Facebook or on YouTube. Hit the like button. If you're on Facebook, please share to your timeline. Do us a favor. Helps us with the algorithm on both YouTube and Facebook. And as always, like, share, hit notification bells on Facebook, follow first, and the whole works. So you mentioned those 12-1 odds in football, and what were the other odds?
Alabama is 4-5 to win the SEC prohibitive favorite, as you would expect. Interesting tidbit here: LSU 12-1 to win the SEC, UCLA 12-1 to win the PAC, and of course Clemson and Ohio State prohibitive favorites. All of this is early stuff. Got the SEC media days coming up here in July, so we're starting to get in there. And I think in your business especially, a lot of these kids are certainly waiting for the opportunity to get their life back. We talk about the pandemic and how we've all been impacted, But these kids not being able to go to official visits and camps and all that, so the end of the month, that kicks up a notch. And I think that is going to flip the switch with all of us starting to feel more normal and getting back to not only 100% normalcy with our life, but 100% in the stadiums this fall. Whether you have to wear a mask or not, I think is dependent upon where you're at. Out in California, you're probably going to have to wear it to the UCLA game. And by the way, I'm getting more and more people that are getting the fever to make that bucket list trip to the Rose Bowl. So a lot to talk about. And
yeah,
as always,
I'm thinking about making that one. And
are you? Okay.
Yeah, and so we might do something with TigerBait out there, but we're looking into it. So I just think there's a whole lot happening. I mean, the camp schedule is going to open up next month. We've still got multiple high school practices to go to. I've been out filming recruits, and we've got another little over a week left with some schools wrapping up spring practices mid next week, Wednesday, Thursday with some of them. So a lot going on there. We had state track meet this past weekend. Chris Hilton looking great. I saw Kendrick Law finish second, looking great. A lot of fantastic athletes out there in Louisiana. So let's see. Let's get to some questions. And LSU baseball, something we've been talking about. Do they have to sweep?
You know, I think everybody is pretty much saying the same things right now. If you get to 14 in the SEC, you're going to be in. If you get to 13, you're going to be a bubble team. Their RPI, second time they've beaten Louisiana Tech, 16-7 opening weekend, 16-8 last night. Granted, it was a shortened game because of the weather, but that's two quad one games that they have victories that they've won. They played 8 of those and had a bunch of those, and so RPI is in the low 20s, and so look, you got to beat Alabama in something. Let's be honest. Alabama's embarrassed LSU, and if you start the calendar year of sports and football, I mean, come on, they could have put 70 in football. Basketball, they really beat them up the first 2 games, and then a real close heartbreaker in the SEC tournament final that Will Williams didn't get the call. But you got to beat Alabama this weekend, 2 out of 3, and then hope you go to take 2 out of 3 against A&M and then win a game or 2 in the tournament.
Dane Bergeron, please talk about how Bama can oversign so many football recruits. They're not getting away with being able to sign 30 or 35, and the whole country is stuck with 25. It doesn't work that way. Sooner or later, they got to pay the piper. If they're on scholarship, they're going to pay the piper. And the blue shirt, gray shirt, whatever it is, they eventually count.
Well, Dane, I'm not sure if you've kept up with the politics, but Alabama did pass a law in their state legislature last week. You may have missed this, that 25 equals 30 in Alabama's new math department. Now, look, you and I have talked about red shirts for many years, and gray shirts were really common a few years ago, and Les and Nick both got criticism because of gray shirt. And now this blue shirt, which as you explained, and we both have blue shirts on tonight, to give you this explanation, Dane, it's a non-recruited player, and you know, we looked into it, and it's something that schools are using, the ones that have been on probation. This may come into effect because, as we know, we're still waiting to see if the NCAA is going to accept this 8 scholarship deal that LSU self-imposed.
Look, everybody's chasing Alabama and is how they do this and how they do that. I think one of the things that you brought up on your show earlier today was the fact that how so few players they have enter the transfer portal. You know, and it's not just that; it's how they get their juniors to come back.
I was going to say that's a big part of it there.
And it's like their kids stay in the program, and you know. Of course, they all seem to be vacationing in the Bahamas.
But Henry Toto got a nice ride, by the way, and there's nothing wrong with that, because if you don't think this is not big business, wait till we get into NIL, which is
now was that truly his car, or was that a joke? Like, I don't know. Someone said that was a joke, so I don't know.
You remember when the Ole Miss receiver on Twitter posted all those $100 bills, and what happened? They got caught, but Hugh Freeze, of course, got hammered for what he did off of the recruiting field, not on it.
Well, you want to talk about that, but you know, you're going to get to the point now when the name or likeness comes through, that's going to be moot.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, or at least for some players, marquee players, I don't know if the Colt Davids of the world are going to be swimming in it, but
No.
we'll see. Of course, even the Colt Davids of the world are going to get, somebody wanting them out in front of a restaurant. Let's see. All right, guys. Let's see what we got here. I'm going to scroll down. Ryan Thibodeau. If Will Wade is considered the godfather, shouldn't Kim Mulkey be the godmother? Talking about one of your comments earlier. Esteban with us every week. Glad to have you with us, Esteban. The only thing I want to know about Bama is how are they still getting commitment over the 25 cap? It really blows my mind. And we just touched on that.
I'm going to give this equation, Mike. I kind of threw this out on the radio show today. You know a guy that has all the perks. He's got the beautiful wife. He's got 4 kids. He's got a swimming pool. He's got a house in Florida. He's got 3 Jags and a Jeep. And yet he's got a great tax accountant that gets him and shows him how to navigate and avoid the IRS. Mm-hmm. That's what Nick Saban does. He's ahead of every little rule. Now, Paul Feinbaum, who I very seldom quote because I call him a lot of different names, but he said one of the things that would take Nick Saban down, the only thing that would take him down, I said the only thing that would take him down is his health. If he has a stroke, he has a heart attack, and God knows none of us want that. We saw it with Bobby Bowden. He got out, he's still healthy. We saw Joe Paterno die shortly after he retired, Bear Bryant as well. So Nick wants to keep coaching, but his health would give him a problem. Feinbaum said NIL could give him a problem. Are you kidding? He's going to be at the cutting edge because this is the way the man does business. He will have every little trick move on what to do with name, image, and likeness.
Oh, that's not going to set him back whatsoever.
And that's why LSU has to keep up with Saban. I remember when Nick Saban was one of the first guys doing Skype to an 8th grader at U-High by the name of
Dylan Moses.
And
he's got a little brother, a 9th grader.
Yeah, and you're going to see him.
Yeah. So let's see, guys. Chili Vic, Mike, are you and Songy buying this A&M hype this season? We talked about that on your show earlier today as well. And no, I do not. I didn't buy it last year, and last year was supposed to be their year. I know Billy Lucci and those guys the year before LSU won the national championship, that summer in SEC Media Days, were all pointing to last season being the year that they would make their run because they wouldn't have Clemson and that schedule the way they had it in 19. And I didn't buy it then. First of all, I don't like Jimbo Fisher's offense. And secondly, I don't think their recruiting has been as good as the other schools at the top, Alabama, LSU. They've got to come to Baton Rouge. And no, I'm not buying it. I think had LSU had mediocre to average offense last season, they would have beat them.
Well, look, I think it was a stretch for the A&M fans to think that they deserved to be in the 4th spot with the CFP last year. And, of course, they did invariably come in the 5 spot. I'm with you, and I agree with all your points. The first thing I talk about is Jimbo Fisher's offense. Now, look, he won a national championship with Jameis, and we know that he's getting ready to be the Saints quarterback probably. But offenses have changed a bunch since 7-8 years ago, and everybody's spread and in space. And so I agree with you. Kellen Mond, who's going to replace him? But if he was as good as he thought he was, then they would be a lot better.
If Kellen Mond was back for another year, it wouldn't change my thought of it.
But I think the other point you made, not to interrupt you, they should be mopping up the state of Texas, and yet Oklahoma goes in there, LSU goes in there, Bama goes in there.
And now Sark is a hot thing.
And now Texas is going to go in there. And so, look, Jimbo is a good fit for A&M. He fits the house and the cowboy boots well. He wears that well. But they will be ranked ahead of LSU preseason poll and in the SEC preseason polls. And I'm with you. I'd take LSU right now over A&M in the final game of the season.
I don't see A&M coming into Baton Rouge and beating LSU. And knock on wood, in order for me to think any different, LSU is going to have an inordinate amount of injuries. And, of course, they had some last year. I mean, everything that could go wrong last year went wrong.
Yeah.
I've never seen so many defensive backs nicked up, missing in action. Kerry Vincent opting out before the season even started. Stingley, Bobos. I mean, everybody. There was issues last year. I don't see that ever happening again. So, all that stuff counts. But the reason why I like LSU is, first of all, I don't see very many weak positions. If you're going to point, you're going to say tight end on offense, and you're going to say linebacker on defense. I think
Or safety.
Yeah, and I think you've got some solutions there. So, and I think the safeties are going to be helped out by how much pass rush you're going to get. I think LSU is going to have some devastating things to dial up with the edge rushers and the amount of guys they're going to be a rotate in and out defensive linemen. That's going to be a big help to all the defensive backs.
But A&M, I would say right now, if you took me to Vegas, will be preseason top 10, and LSU's probably going to be just outside the top 10. And I love that. I love that underdog role at the start of the season with A&M.
Yep. Let's see. Blaine Smith, and I'm moving all over the place. Blaine comes in. Glad to have you with us again tonight. Blaine, good evening, guys. Have you heard anything about how is the defense coming along under Durante Jones?
Well, they're right now the main thing is they're finishing up the academics. I'll just tell you this, and I kind of was looking at the personnel, Mike, and look, we always talk about serving up vanilla ice cream in the spring game, but talking to some people, I think you got a chance to be better at all three spots. Now, the defensive line, when you've got 0 and 99 and 92 and 97, and I expect all you LSU fans to know these players when I give them their numbers. But, man, when you got all these influx of guys coming in here and you've got depth and you've also got excellent rushers from the edge, but you're going to be better playing the A-gap and the run. And then you mentioned linebackers. Heck, I think 18 and I think Bug Strong is going to be pretty good. And you got other guys. And then, of course, you got three corners now that I don't think they'd trade any three corners in the country for Stingley and Eli Ricks and Dwight McLaughlin right now, do you? And then Jay Ward playing nickel safety. So you get a strong safety, you cover over the top, you put pressure. I think the defense is going to be way better, but last year's numbers are not much of a standard to go after.
But then you get in Sage Ryan and Langlois, who was another strong participant, ran a 10,700 meters at the state track meet. So, look, LSU's got some people. And then on offense, tight end. And again, at linebacker, most of the time LSU's only playing two linebackers. I like the fact they have a dedicated linebackers coach now.
I don't think I heard Chinese bandits mentioned one time last year. That's how bad that defense was. And, of course, it was a square peg in a round hole. But anytime somebody wants to give me a job without an interview and pay me $2.3 million, please get my phone number from Mike Scarborough.
I tell you what I think.
That's a joke, obviously.
I think that year last year embarrassed that team. And I think that's part of the reason and what they were able to sell all those offensive linemen to come back for the free year. I think they were embarrassed. And that year, a throwaway COVID year, Mulligan year, think about where we were this time last year. We were wondering if we were even going to have a football season. And we wanted it any way we can get it. No matter if it was a half a dozen games, whatever we got, we just wanted something. Well, you got bad, but you ended with two wins. But I think it makes this team hungry. And I think this team's loose. I think they're excited. I think we already saw in the spring game, and even just the little bit we were allowed in for spring practices, that was just so reminiscent of the first spring under Joe Brady. You couldn't tell the difference. So I think there's a lot of solutions there. So
a lot of different difference makers on defense, including Mason Smith. Jay Roy is going to be much more in the mix here and making big plays. Look, in that spring game, they couldn't block him. Now, granted, it was basically backup lineman, but still. And then, as you alluded to, Sage Ryan and a bunch of others. And, hey, I love the way Dwight McLaughlin played. Eli Ricks has been hurt. Derek Stingley gets the number 7. Don't think for a second, and I said something today, and I guess I just kind of threw it up against the wall, and we'll see if it sticks. But I said Stingley is going to have 7, either a total of INTs and or touchdowns. So I got him with a pick 6 for a touchdown. I got him with a punt return for a touchdown. and I got him with 5 INTs. That's 7. That's the kind of thing that gets you drafted 5, 6, 7, or 8 next year in the draft.
Guys,
in the first round, obviously.
Let us know in the chat, because this is something else I keep Buddy and I, of course, Buddy, you can listen to him on the TuneIn app every day with his show, Buddy Sports Talk. Something we talked about today. Now, what about 18? Who would you give it to? And I'm not seeing anybody. So I'm all for skipping a year. If you guys think somebody deserves 18, or there's a unique story or a background, or but I'm not seeing anybody.
Well, I mean, there's already one 18 on the team, and that's the linebacker who had it last year.
But don't give it out again.
But they have given double 18s the last couple of years, and it was a bad omen last year with Clark, who played appreciably worse, and Chris Curry on offense, who didn't score a touchdown and is transferred over to Utah. I said Miles Brennan. You know, the last quarterback that wore 18 did a pretty good job, Matt Mock. Remember, national championship. He was one of the guys that had 18. So bottom line is that a lot of people echo your sentiment. 7 is the best player, the best playmaker, the most influential. You know, 18 has some other characteristics.
To me, I think 18 is a guy that either was like a lower rated guy coming out of high school, stuck it out. It became a team leader that everybody loves, became a starter, came back for a senior. That, you know, or a guy, you don't want these scenarios, but a guy who maybe, you know, had to miss a year because of Hodgkin's lymphoma. You know, something, you know, somebody who had to fight back, and it really is something monumental.
Well, that's Miles Brennan coming off the injury. The problem with giving it to Miles Brennan is that if you give him 18 and then Max Johnson starts and lights up the whole year, it's more, you know, it's not the good luck. But yeah, I know Paul and a bunch of other our listeners.
Yeah, Preston Guy chimes in, our Preston.
PG.
Yeah, he says skip, and that's kind of I am. AYS, our buddy Blake says go with Deculus. Well, okay.
You did that with Lloyd Cushenberry, and you can't actually wear the number, but you can wear the little patch. Deculus is somebody I hadn't heard. That's an interesting name.
Yeah.
My board up Taylor Sharp threw in Johnson Kirkland, which is a guy like you were just talking about.
Yeah, you know, I don't know. I'm just like, I'd like to see sometimes where, of course, it's never going to happen with number 7 because there's always a fantastic athlete on LSU's football team. It's just a fact. It's Louisiana has them, and then when you bring in guys like Patrick Peterson from out of state, you get what you get. But I think you make the 18 mean something if maybe you skip more than a year, and it really, but. I don't know what that committee of those 18s, and they all get to vote. And I think Stringfellow's a part of it too, right?
Yeah.
So I'd like to know what their criteria is. But Darren Birch, Max Johnson, 18. A lot of hype around Bryce Langston.
Defensive lineman.
Yeah.
Look, you kind of, that was a late signee, and there were some questions about him being academically eligible, so that's the first hurdle I think that would have to get. But you liked him a lot. The only problem I see with Bryce Langston, man, is that you got a lot of guys that have waited their turn. I mean, look, you know, let's be honest. Logan and some of the other guys were a little heavy coming back last year, but Farrell and all those. But I've never seen this D-line this deep, and this is Ed Orgeron's kind of depth at the D-line now.
Yeah, this is the best defensive line he's had, I think.
I think so. I do.
And that. Can you make a case that is the best unit on the entire football team?
I think we got to wait to see him play. But
it
I
certainly
think from
has
a numbers standpoint, yes.
I think it's got everything.
Yeah.
Depth, rotating depth. Think about, first of all, LSU's working hard in the offseason, so they're going to have that fourth quarter thing going. And then when you can rotate bodies in, you know, and, you know, if LSU ends up in a overtime, I think that defensive line is going to have some guys that are fresh.
Well, we talked about the inside. B.J. Ojulari and Andre Anthony and Ali Gay, and then your player of the year in the state, Savion Jones. That's 4 right there that are pretty special. And you got a couple others that are trying to come in here.
And by the way, I found out today, I'd mentioned on the show a couple of weeks ago that Walker Howard had to not throw for a few weeks. He had a thumb injury, kind of similar to what Drew Brees had, but it wasn't ripped. It was like a strain, and he's totally through it. And I'm told he is throwing the ball fantastic right now. So a little update on Walker Howard, if those of y'all were worried about that. Let's see. And he is on pace to graduate at midterm as well. Let's see. Yeah, Ryan Thibodeau, the D-line has little to no drop-off in the rotation. Jake Nola, I know Will Wade hasn't been here long, but at what point can we discuss if he's a better recruiter than Dale Brown was?
Well, I think you're talking about two eras right now. This is a total different landscape. Now, look, Dale Brown brought in Rudy Macklin and Kenny Higgs early on from Kentucky, and that was a real coup. And one thing I give Dale Brown credit for is that he had the onions to say, we're going to go after Kentucky, and we're going to compete against them, and we're going to beat them. Now, for a while there, they had the biggest home loss for Kentucky was 75-40, beat them by 35 over there. But as we know, unfortunately, which is what's happening with Coach Maneri, Coach Brown's first 20 years were stained a little bit by the last 5 years. And so there is some bad taste with some people at the end of the tenure. But recruiting in those days is appreciably different from nowadays. And I really don't have a handle yet. I had one of my guys kind of jump the gun a little bit, and he says, man, I'm looking at this new team, and I'm thinking Final Four, and I'm going like, man, let's at least see them in a scrimmage, a game or whatever. But there's no guy that works harder and leaves no stone unturned better than Will Wade. I mean, you talk about morning, noon, and night, working the phones.
I really want to see, and he might be totally opposite, and I have a feeling he probably is, you know, with all these new faces. I mean, what's the roster, 2/3 new?
Oh, yeah, you're going to need a program this year.
Yeah, and so what kind of December schedule does he put together? Does he throw them in the frying pan because he wants some trial by fire and to learn from it? Or does he, you know, try to put in some more cupcakes in there, you know, to get them seasoned and together? I don't know.
You heard my marketing little tidbit. I want LSU men's and women's basketball to coexist. And I know they play some games at 8 o'clock on a Tuesday or Wednesday night on the SEC Network. How cool would that be to have Kim Mulkey and the Lady Tigers play at 4:30 or 5 and then have the men play at 8? I also would love to see them have a dual.
You trying to set up a scenario where the women are like Pete Maravich in the freshman game and then they all leave and
Let me tell you what, Kim Mulkey's good. No, Kim Mulkey is going to have 5,000 or 6,000.
That's what I'm saying.
No, but Will Wade's going to have some big crowds with this team.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm going to make the prediction. They will both each sell out that arena at least once this year. Kim Mulkey will have a sellout, and you know Will Wade's going to have
Is there any chance she outdraws him, at least in the first month, because she's new? I think she can.
I don't think so. But, you
Really?
know, what's the latest number on season tickets?
You're going to have an opening night, and everybody's going to want to say I was there for the first game, and no matter who she's playing.
Maybe a game or two, but I would think that
But that adds up in December.
It does. Yeah, if in December it's possible. But
Yeah.
look, I would expect basketball packages are going to be put together, and let's hope that you know, they both have great years, because ever since Kim Mulkey has been hired, it seems like there's been some good karma with LSU athletics. She's at a standard the way she works. Everybody's excited because they know this is a Hall of Fame coach, and you can't be getting lazy anymore if you're an LSU coach with her on the. You know, let's be honest. She's going to take the SEC by storm. SEC coaches are not happy she's in the league.
Oh,
now.
they're heading towards 4,000 deposits on season tickets, and I can tell y'all when I was working that Mulkey story, I was on the phone with guys who run websites, you know, chasing down some other stuff, and talked to a guy out that covers the Gamecocks, and he had ran in Coach Staley. And they had a conversation about it. She wasn't looking forward to Mulkey.
No.
Yeah, I mean, they're all. And then I heard the Arkansas coach, our buddies at Sikkim 365 had the Arkansas women's coach on, and he was made a joke about how he had a 1-0 record against Mulkey, and he was hoping he could take that to his grave. And now he's gonna he's got to fight. So yeah, they know what's coming. So has she been on SEC Network yet? Has she? Has she done a spot with Fireball?
I hadn't kept up with that.
I imagine that'll be like an SEC coaches meeting type of thing.
Oh, they'll have her on at some point. And of course, the real Hold the Rope, the Skip Bertman, one of the Skip Bertman stories debuting that documentary is going to be May 24th.
I'm gonna be. I got invited to go to the LaBerge thing for that.
Okay, good deal.
You heard about that? They're doing like a advanced screening. You buy like a big table and yeah, so I'm fired up about that.
Good deal.
Let's see what we got here. Ryan Thibodeau kindled a light of fire under every single coach at LSU. I think that's what sparked Paul last night. If Days come back, can he play the 3?
Yeah, he did the dirty work last year, Mike. He had to guard big people. He had to rebound and whatever.
He had good games, and LSU had good games.
Yeah, and of course, he was hot, and then there was a game where he shot 0 from the 3 ball. I think this is how you're going to get him back. You got a bunch of guys that A, are going to protect the rim, and B, do the dirty work. This guy from Cincinnati that's 6'8", Eason, he's going to be a beast, and Josh LeBon and others. So I think if they get Days back, they're going to let him shoot the 3 ball, no doubt.
Logan Smith, Andre Carter is attracting big-time defensive linemen. You think we can keep him around, or you think he'll want to be a defensive coordinator? I'm not sure on that, but I think he's probably a defensive line coach. But you know, we'll see. But I think he's loving Baton Rouge.
Yeah,
and he's an outgoing guy. Did you see the clip that LSU put out of him meeting Mulkey and no, he's.
Are you kidding me? I mean, you know, I know a lot of people do that all the time, but let's just enjoy this new staff. You got 5 new coaches. None of us know what they're going to do.
I think that infusion of youth on Ed Orgeron's staff is going to reap some real big dividends. So
I think he's going to be here a few years. But now his progression, I don't think nobody knows how quickly that will happen. But I know this: all the D linemen love him.
Pride Roofing, guys, I want to talk about them just a little bit. Of course, they sponsor us each week. They're the official roofing company of TigerBait.com. Give them a call, 225-275-2041. And A-plus rated with the Better Business Bureau. If you're in Sulphur or in Foley, Alabama, they've got you covered. All the way from Sulphur, Baton Rouge, Lafayette. They're doing a big job in Breaux Bridge coming up. North Shore, real big. Covington, Mandeville, Madisonville, Slidell. Gulfport, Biloxi, Gulf Shores, Alabama, multiple locations all throughout, and they've got enough shingles in that yard to do 200 roofs, and they make all their own flashing. There's nothing builder grade. They will price match. They will win bids, and I tell you what, Alex and those guys at and Mike Faraday are big time.
There's one of our listeners right there. That is PFM's house. I wish I could show you the before and after. But that's the kind of work that they do, and they take great pride in it. He was oops, I got the wrong picture here. Where'd we go?
That was your Andy's custard picture.
Yeah, that was my Andy's custard picture. Where'd this roof go? I got so many pictures here, but I'll tell you, here it is, right here. Obviously, he's very happy. They're cost competitive, great value, and could not believe those guys got there in the morning and were done by 4:30. I've
said it each week that if you got he's probably got a big, good size normal house. They had the roof off and done that night, and when you get the go ahead, whether it's with your insurance, they schedule within 2 weeks. I'm told there's roofing companies out there because there's a shortage of materials and so forth that sometimes you're gonna be waiting several months to even get scheduled to get your new roof on. So. Call Pride Roofing. Tell them you heard about it on TigerBait. Mike Faraday, of course, grew up here in Baton Rouge, LSU grad, Broadmoor High School. I grew up with him, vouched for him. Super people, him and his wife Tammy, Alex Martinez, super guys, and insured, bonded, the works, and you can't ask for better people. And so Pride Roofing, much thanks to them sponsoring us each and every week.
Job well done is a job done by Pride Roofing and with great pride. Call Mike and Alex 275-2041. And we want to thank all the people like Paul, had another guy, James. You had a guy in Breaux Bridge. And, of course, the great perk when you call Pride Roofing is?
They give you a free TigerBait for a year. They're paying for it. So it doesn't hurt you to call and get a free roof inspection. Say TigerBait, and they're going to pay for you to get a premium TigerBait subscription for a year. So, that's a $99 value that they're footing the bill for. Let's see. Dane, he brings up Pride Roofing needs to send some sales reps out to Southwest Louisiana. There's still plenty of roof work. They're out there. They've got location in Sulphur and Lake Charles, and they're working it. So no doubt. I know when the storm first hit, they were back. Almost the entire staff was basically living there for the first month to 6 weeks, and they set up newer locations in a bigger yard out there. So no doubt if you're in Southwest Louisiana. I have many friends there, and boy, it's. I feel for those people, and a lot of work to be done still.
Yep.
Let's see.
LSU softball, by the way, did beat South Carolina today, so the Lady Tigers were the number 5 seed, and they will play 4 seed Missouri in the 130-145 range. And Mike, believe it or not, I may be a little different from some of the Tiger fans, but remember I mentioned beach volleyball last weekend. Incredible crowd of LSU fans out at the beach volleyball. They got beat and had to go through the losers bracket. Came back to beat TCU, beat Florida State, which was seated 1 spot ahead of them. First time they beat Florida State all year, and then had a really, really tough match with UCLA and lost 3-2. In Court 5 that went 3 sets. But man, I'm going to tell you something. That's the best unadvertised sport out at LSU. This Russell Brock has done a fantastic job, and all those ladies, kudos for not only representing this state and LSU the right way, but a real class act. And once again, another LSU program that has consistently been in the top 2, 3, 4 the last 3 or 4 years.
Jeffrey Jones, what's the difference between an official and unofficial visits in recruiting? Unofficial visit, the prospect and his parents or whoever's with him just show up. Can't feed them. If you can give them a game ticket if they're a recruit so they can watch a game. Official visit, you can fly them in. You can give them, you can pay them per mile if they have to drive. So if someone's coming in from Jackson, Mississippi, they get so many cents per mile for driving in if they don't fly. And all meals paid for, lodging, the red carpet treatment. And an official visit lasts 48 hours. So unofficial visit, it's they show up, you can give them a tour and everything else, but you can't feed them, you can't give them lodging, none of that. So, and if they have like a buffet or whatever, I think they have to pay a fee. So that's the difference right there. And a school has a little over 50 official visits they can give out a year. And LSU's got 13 of them so far scheduled in the month of June. It's going to be very interesting. There's a lot of them on that list that I need to get on the horn with and get a few updates out to before they happen. But a lot of out-of-state kids coming in early, so it's kind of interesting to see LSU's game plan, where they're wanting to get a lot of those kids in from out of state for early official visits. And then, of course, usually they'll stack the in-state kids and the commitments for later in November, December. So we're going to see how that plays out. But you can kind of see a lot of schools scheduling June official visits. So I wonder if LSU's going to get close to using their max allotment this year.
Well, we'll see. I was just going to add, I didn't have a chance to talk to you about this on the radio show, but Arch Manning has put out his list, and LSU is not on the official visit. And he said, look, I've been over there enough. I don't need to go on an official visit.
Well, he can't go. It's not an official visit. He's making unofficial visits because he's not going into a senior year yet.
No, I know, but I'm saying LSU's not on the list for official visit right now. And that could change, but so
you know what my hunch is?
What's that?
My hunch is that he ends up at LSU for a half a day at some point.
Okay.
That's my hunch.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel for Cooper Manning because it is I mean, think about what it must be like for him having to, because he's a national kid. It's not just the local guys like me that want to interview Arch and cover him. You got everybody in the New Orleans market, even guys who don't do recruiting who want a bite of that. And then of course the whole Manning,
legacy.
But what's amazing about his list, look at the number of non-SEC schools on it. that caught my eye because I've stated all along, I just can't fathom a Manning being anywhere but in the SEC. That just doesn't compute with me. But I understand. But one of the things I've always said too, I thought, was the Mannings, the whole school thing is overblown with fans. They're about coaches. They're about who's the offensive coordinator, relationships. That's who's the quarterback's coach that they respect, that they like what they're doing, their philosophy. That's how the Mannings are. So, but it wouldn't surprise me if he ends up at LSU for a half a day or a whole day at either a camp or just comes in unofficial, and it's kind of like either a surprise or something they wanted to keep on the down low. I could be wrong. It wouldn't surprise me, but I don't think there's much to worry about. Of course, I'm not saying LSU's going to end up getting him. I think I said last week, someone asked me, and I said maybe 30%. Maybe the odds aren't that high, but I don't think LSU's out of it just because doesn't have LSU on that initial June list right now.
Well, can you imagine, though, Archie, Peyton, and Eli and their storied NFL careers, and there your daddy is, who was a decent football player at Ole Miss and had the neck injury and had to give it up. Eli Holstein, by the way, also got an offer from Georgia this week. So, and then we talked about Ricky Collins last week. So it is kind of nice to see all these highly touted quarterbacks in the state of Louisiana in close proximity. The interesting thing, Mike, here is that now that we're down to 3 with Finley gone, we'll wait to see where he goes. But with Walker Howard coming in here, LSU's in pretty good shape here for the next 3-4 years at quarterback.
Am I the only one that thinks the Manning will never come to LSU? Look, you remember Peyton Manning. Who did everybody want that year?
Josh Booty.
Josh Booty. LSU fans were not, they were happy they got Josh Booty, and then we know what happened.
But his daddy did let him make the decision to go to Tennessee, and of course Eli decided to go to Ole Miss.
But even remember Eli's recruiting. LSU had some other quarterbacks, and it was a Booty again that was here.
Well,
so it's like you could say Josh Booty cost LSU 2 Mannings.
Well, look, a lot of people think a Manning will never play at LSU. I think that's what you're trying to say. It's not a case closed. It's not an automatic that he's not going to play here, but you think it's a probable 1 in 4 shot right now.
Yeah,
that's 25%.
I don't know, maybe it's 1 in 6, but I will say this: if you ask me right now, who's the better quarterback, I'm taking Walker Howard all day long.
Yeah. But he is a year older.
He is a year older.
Okay.
I think Walker Howard might have more to do with where Arch Manning ends up.
Sure.
And by the way, all those dads talk. They're all good friends.
Yeah.
Jamie and Cooper, Bo Bordelon, they all talk. And by the way, they don't want to get in each other's way. That's why I think if there's any scenario as to why Arch, if you want to say the biggest factor, it's going to be Walker Howard. Because they want to compete. So, they don't want to get in each other's way.
Sure.
They want to, but we'll see. But you mentioned Eli Holstein, Ricky Collins out there. Everybody wants to, see how Reese Mooney develops. Of course, he was at one time committed to Houston in baseball at Denham. And we're going to see if there's 1 or 2 others that might materialize. And then, but look, LSU's got Jake Peets, and it ain't just Louisiana kids he's going to be looking at. He's going to be looking at a lot of out-of-state kids for 23, 24, and I can't wait to see what quarterback group he has for the
camp.
Yep. Esteban, boom, all caps. That's what I'm talking about, Mike. I think you were talking about my take on Walker Howard over Arch. I get it.
By the way, I am really excited to see what Jake Peets does in the red zone. And everybody out there knows if you watch these offenses, Mike, if you remember, with Cole Tracy, LSU made 29 field goals. And they had to settle for a lot of field goals in 18. In 19, they scored a ton of touchdowns. Now, a lot of that was attributed to Coach E being aided by Joe Brady. And that P&V, young guy, attitude like, let's go for it. And of course, Steve bought into it a lot, and they called some great plays inside the red zone, scored a lot of touchdowns. But I can't wait to see what it's like for Pete's calling plays for the first time and Durante Jones calling defensive snaps for the first time. Of course, Ogeron's going to be right there helping him, and all these other guys are helping him. But I kind of like that little mystery aspect going into the year.
Now, does Pete's and Mangus have a similar setup as Ensminger and Brady?
I don't think we know that
13
yet.
yards and in was Brady's.
Yeah, I don't think we know that just yet.
Yeah. Amy, my BFF Amy Fulkerson, Jay Leger was discussing your friend Josh Booty. Esteban, what's y'all's opinion of E.J. Gibson, quarterback walk-on that just joined LSU? I'm not familiar with him.
No, preferred walk-on quarterback coming on. I just saw the name, and look, we predicted this as much last week. Remember, there's going to be a couple arms, whether they camp arms or stay around. Not everybody's going to have a daddy that is an insurance guy. Gordon McKernan's son came over for a cup of coffee and had other walk-ons, but they'll add some camp arms. But look, the main three, and this is going to be fun to see how this thing evolves, because there's really no reason and no advantage for Coach O to name the starting quarterback until maybe the first week at that first press conference. We'll see. You'll know it by the reps in practice, but I think he's going to keep everybody in the mix. And, of course, little Nussmeier is just going to be sopping up everything, learning from these guys, and I can't wait to see him fill out.
I love Nussmeier's confidence
him,
level, and he's
fearless.
He's a gamer. Preston can certify firsthand. Cooper Manning is hard to get a hold of. Yeah, he is. And look, that family's been under the bright lights for many, many years, and I have watched them. I went to Arch's first game last season on a Thursday night. Was at West Jeff. And I watched how they find side exits. I watched how they find which door to go in, when to go in to avoid the crowds.
Wear the hat down this.
I've seen it. Preston went down there and it was hoping to talk, and they bolted out a side door after a game. So, yeah. So let's see what else we got here. Kenny Russell, do you think LSU offered Jordan Allen from LCA? I want to see Jordan at camp. That's going to be very interesting. Jordan is a fantastic athlete. LCA is loaded. And, of course, Amy Fulkerson, I just put up in the chat, her son's also at LCA. So Trev Falk's got some real good football players over there.
I asked you that on the show today. Do state kids take it personal, or do all these other recruits, whether you're in-state, out-of-state, take it personal when the coach says, listen, we like you, we want you to do this, but we want you to come to camp so we really can see you eye to eye. And remember now, we've had a year and a half where you couldn't do this, but I asked you if that alienated some of the recruits, and you said it did.
It can. It gets them upset. But when you explain to the coaches at their high school or them, LSU cannot make a mistake on Louisiana kids.
Right.
If they offer, they have to be able to take that commitment. Or you get in a situation like with Major Burns, where, the way that ended and they made a decision to part ways with him a little bit too soon on National Signing Day. You don't want stuff like that to happen because that can hurt you. If you offer a kid, you better be darn sure he's the guy you want, because you don't want to burn down your relationships at a West Monroe or a John Curtis or a U-High or anywhere. Whereas if you offer a kid from Georgia or North Carolina, and he says, Coach, I'm ready to commit, they're likely to say, yeah, but we want you to come to camp first. You don't do that with a Louisiana kid. You better have already seen him, done all your research, and know that he's definitely a take, because once you offer, they're a take. Unless you've got a darn good excuse because there's some off-the-field stuff, an arrest, some character issues that have been uncovered, or you see their transcript and they're flunking out, then you've got a reason to abandon them. But once you offer, you have to, a Louisiana kid, you have to take it. So I know there's a prospect this year that LSU was behind many other schools, SEC schools and national schools offering, and LSU came in and ended up offering. But I think initially they were hoping to have him at camp, and eventually they said, no, we got to go ahead and do it now, because it
Yeah.
They were getting a little bit too far behind, and,
Sure.
there was some anger developing there.
By the way, I think I read Miles Brennan getting ready to graduate, and so I really think this is his last year at LSU, make it or break it. Of course, if you remember when Joe Burrow, the great thing about it, man, when you can do more football than academics, you don't have that academic problem hanging over your head, and you're doing, virtual and remote classes. You get to spend more time on the playbook and all that. So I think 3 is the number you're going to look at. Miles will probably leave after this year. That leaves you Max Johnson, Garrett Nussmeier, and Walker Howard coming in. And of course, those guys are going to be together for a couple of years, and then you got to constantly replenish. But I like LSU's offensive depth. And how exciting is it going to be, though, to have another new offensive coordinator where really, for us, we knew Coach Ensminger, we kind of knew some tendencies. Now, Brady was obviously unpredictable, and Burrow was the greatest quarterback I've ever seen in my life and probably will ever see. But I'm excited to watch an LSU game this year and not know, hey, there's a 50-50 chance they're going to do this play. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch the Tigers on offense this year.
Tyler Azan got in here kind of late. What are the chances of Walter Nolan? Look, everybody wants him. Top flight offensive lineman. We're going to see. Got to get that visit scheduled, but everybody wants him. And LSU's got a big group of offensive linemen all right now, and so you're Will Campbell's your left tackle in this class. So we're going to see how this plays out. Mike, does LSU have any chance of winning with a pair of millennials calling plays this year?
Depends on what kind of millennial they are.
Yeah, see, Preston and I have our little millennial fights.
Well, as long as it's not Preston calling the plays, we got a chance. But I will say this, and I told you this before the show. I think one of the really cool features that I enjoy the most is when you and Preston are walking back to the car after the game. I like that. That's a real good feature. And
I always like to see how far we can walk and how long before. Preston shocks me. He's actually able to hold that camera out, and there's no shaking, there's no arm like getting tired,
and no heavy breathing either.
No.
So good job, PJ. But look, it's going to be interesting to see Pete's and Durante Jones, and we're not going to get into the millennials and the politics and what's going on in this world. But I'm just excited that LSU is going to have some, once again, some. I guess you could say, not your typical play calling. And, they keep throwing it back to 19. It's going to be similar to this. And we learned a lot from Joe, but this is the fun part about it, a different cast of characters. That's why when I inquired about Trey Bradford today, because I asked you about the rumors, look, man, that running back room, as thin as it was in the spring game, it's going to be loaded for fall.
But the reason why you follow up on that, because it does make sense.
It does.
You wouldn't fault him if he did. Amy Fulkerson, again, bringing up the LCA angle. Thoughts on upcoming Sage Ryan? We talked about safety being that position that maybe there's some questions. Can he come in and, we saw a very, very good, who was the last great freshman safety?
Grant Delpit was really good his freshman year.
Yeah.
Who are you talking about?
The dancer. Jets and now Seahawks.
Oh, okay, Jamal Adams.
Yeah.
Well, look, I'm not ready to say Sage Ryan is Jamal Adams, but I will tell you this. That kid's going to play on special teams. He's going to be involved from day one. It's just a matter of finding his niche. The thing about Sage Ryan that's a little, Jamal Adams doesn't have but like 5 interceptions in his whole pro career, but he's one of the highest paid safeties in the game. So he is awesome blitzing and being a box safety. I don't know what Sage Ryan is going to grow into just yet.
When I saw him at the 5-star challenge, I left there and he was the guy. And then Corey Raymond ended up getting him. Man, that was just big.
Yeah, and Jamal Adams, you're exactly right, though. The great thing about that, LSU traded Jamal Adams from a guy who got caught with a little pot and some drugs with his buddy Cam Robinson up in North Louisiana. I forget his name. But anyway, LSU got the better end of that deal with Jamal Adams. There's no doubt.
Yep. Let's see. All right, guys.
Real quick, I'll just give everybody the rundown. LSU baseball this weekend, must-win situation. Even Coach Maneri told the team this week that they've got to have a good week if they want to play in the postseason. 7 o'clock on Friday night, 2 o'clock on Saturday, regular TV, and 2 o'clock on Sunday, Friday and Sunday, digital networks. And, interesting, I have Todd Walker on again tomorrow, and he was predicting a big crowd. They've been real slow to go back in droves since they got the clearance with the 100% attendance.
Yeah.
But I would think these are going to be, without a doubt, the loudest and most boisterous crowds. Now, look, if you're a baseball fan out there, then you need to go out there and support Paul Maneri and the baseball team, because this is Alabama. Alabama's pretty good, and the last thing you need to do is let them come in here and win 2 out of 3. But with the RPI and the strength of schedule, if LSU could sweep or win 2 out of 3 the next 2 weekends and then do something in the tournament, they won't be hosting regional, but they at least will be in postseason play. So this is making or breaking the last 2 weekends.
Yeah. Guys, please go to TigerBait, subscribe. We want to have you as a premium subscriber. Loads of recruiting stuff coming your way. Kind of a little bit of a lull here. Well, I'm not going to be much for me because I'm going out to the high schools, and I got a lot more video coming your way. And then all hell's going to break loose in June. You're going to want to be a subscriber to TigerBait. Lots of breaking news that will be coming your way during the month of June. So go to TigerBait, subscribe. $1 gets you a trial period to try us out for a week. As always, choose the annual package. You basically get 3 months free when you do that. We want to have you as a part of our community. I'm on the message board day and night, the Tiger Den Premium Message Board. You'll get our newsletters, our text alerts, all of our premium content, and a lot more. And we got bigger plans and additions coming for the upcoming football season. So we want to have you as a part of our TigerBait.com community. So go subscribe, check us out, and please share, like this video. And thanks to all you participating tonight. Thanks to Buddy for being with us again. And check him out on the TuneIn app. Thanks to Pride Roofing. And we'll be back here again next week. In fact, I might even do a little Facebook Live from a few spring football games that I might be at during the day next week. So we'll see y'all guys next week. And y'all have a good rest of the week.